All right, hello everyone. If you're getting ready to take the ISTQB CT-GenAI exam, then you are in the perfect spot. My goal with this explainer is really simple. I want to give you absolutely everything you need to walk into that exam feeling confident and, more importantly, walk out with your certification. So let's just dive right in. My name is, well, you don't need my name, but what you do need to know is that I'm an ISTQB certified trainer, and I've seen exactly what trips people up on this exam. That's why I've built this session to be a super focused guide. We're going to break down every single key part of the syllabus so you know exactly what's coming and how to handle it. Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to move through this in 5 logical sections, and this perfectly mirrors the official syllabus. We'll kick things off with the fundamentals, then get practical with prompt engineering. After that, we'll cover the really critical topic of risks, then zoom out to look at strategy, and finally, we'll wrap it all up with a rapid-fire exam countdown. This whole thing is designed to build your knowledge up one solid brick at a time. Right, let's start at the beginning. Section 1 is all about the absolute basics. These are the core ideas and the key terms that everything else is built on. You really need to pay close attention here because these are crucial for those K1 level recall questions on the exam. These are the easy points and you don't want to miss them. First up, the official definition of generative AI. Now, this is a classic exam question, where they'll just ask you to pick the right definition from a list. My best advice, memorize this exact wording. The key parts are that it's about generating new content, and that content looks like something a human would create. So what's a large language model, or LLM? Well, the official definition says it's a program that uses tons of language data to understand and create text. But here's what you really need to remember for the exam. The LLM is the engine inside all these GenAI tools. It's the part that's actually doing the work. Understanding that helps you figure out why you get the results you do. You will absolutely be expected to know the difference between these types of AI. Here's the simple way to think about it. Symbolic AI is kind of old school. It follows a strict set of rules. If this, then that. Machine learning, on the other hand, learns the rules by looking at massive amounts of data. And generative AI is just a really powerful type of machine learning. Okay, so this concept is fundamental. When you type a prompt, how does the LLM actually read it? It doesn't see sentences like we do. First, it breaks down your text into smaller chunks called tokens. A word like test might be one token, but a more complex word could be broken into smaller pieces. This process is called tokenization, and it's why the length and choice of your words in a prompt matter so much. And this is where the real magic happens. After tokenization, the LLM turns each token into a long string of numbers, a vector. You can think of it like a giant multi-dimensional map. On this map, words with similar meanings like bug and defect are placed really close together. This proximity is how the model understands context and relationships, which lets it generate text that actually makes sense. All right, so now that we've got those basics down, let's build on it. It's time to get into the most practical skill for testers using this tech, prompt engineering. This is a huge part of the exam, where you'll have to show you can actually apply these tools to solve real testing problems. You need to pay very close attention to this table. This is pure exam gold. You are going to get scenario questions that ask you to pick the right technique. Here's how to remember them. Use prompt chaining for complex, multi-step tasks. Use few-shot prompting when you need a very specific format, so you give it a few examples. And use meta-prompting when you want the AI to help you write better prompts. So let's really picture what prompt chaining looks like. It's not one single prompt. It's a very controlled step-by-step process. Imagine you ask the AI to generate some user stories from a requirement. You stop, you check them, you make sure they're good. Then you take those verified stories and feed them into the next prompt to generate test cases. It's all about making sure each step is accurate before you move on. This slide is all about the what can you do with it question. These are 4 key applications you've got to know for the exam. You might see a question like, a team needs to create a lot of realistic looking user data. Which Gen AI capability would be most helpful? And you'd know the answer is test data synthesis. Know these use cases. Okay, we've talked about the power of Gen AI. Now we have to talk about the pitfalls. For your exam, believe me, understanding the risks is every bit as important as knowing the benefits. You should expect scenario questions where you have to spot a specific risk, like a hallucination or a data leak, and then choose the right way to deal with it. So, before I just give you the answer, take a second. What does that word hallucination make you think of in the context of AI? Just trying to answer that for yourself right now will help lock the real definition into your brain for exam day. And there it is. Simple, direct, and absolutely critical. A hallucination is when the LLM creates information that is just plain wrong, but it states it with total confidence. It's not a typo, it's a complete fabrication. You have to know this term. The exam isn't just going to ask you to name the risks, it's going to ask how you fix them. So the key is to connect these solutions back to the problem. To fight hallucinations, you need verification. That means a human has to review important stuff, and you can also adjust technical settings, like temperature. Think of it as a creativity dial. You turn it down to get more factual, less creative answer. This is a massive topic for exam questions. Think about it. When you paste confidential customer data or internal project requirements into a public GenAI tool, where does that information go? You could be creating a huge data leak and even breaking laws like GDPR. You have to think about privacy before you paste. And it's really important to know the difference between privacy and security. Privacy is about the proper use of data. Security is about protecting the whole system from an attack. The exam might test you on this. Security risks include things like prompt injection attacks, where someone tries to trick the LLM into doing something it shouldn't. Okay, let's zoom out now to the big picture. How does a company actually start using GenAI the right way? This section is all about having a formal strategy and good governance. This is super important for any test managers or team leads out there. This is a key term for the exam: shadow AI. It's what happens when people in the company start using public GenAI tools for their work, but without any official permission or oversight. You know, they're just trying to be more productive, but it opens up a ton of risk for the organization. And these are the reasons why shadow AI is such a big deal. You might get an exam question that describes a tester using their personal ChatGPT account to generate test cases from a confidential document. You'd need to spot the risks right away: data privacy, compliance issues, and maybe even questions about who owns the intellectual property that was generated. This roadmap is the official ISTQB approved solution to shadow AI. For the exam, you need to know these 4 phases. Phase 1 is understanding, which is all about training your team. Phase 2 is initiation, where you find the best use cases. Phase 3 is integration, picking the right tools and plugging them into your workflow. And finally, Phase 4 is governance, which is creating the rules to use GenAI safely and effectively across the whole company. Okay, we have covered a lot of ground. Now let's pull it all together into a final rapid-fire review. I want you to think of this as your last-minute checklist before you walk into that exam room. If you're short on study time, focus it right here. These topics are where the more difficult, higher-level questions come from. These are the questions that require you to apply what you know to a situation, not just remember a definition. Make sure you can tell the difference between prompting techniques and connect specific risks to their solutions. These are your non-negotiables. You absolutely must be able to define these 6 terms exactly as they're written in the ISTQB syllabus. Go back through this explainer, make some flashcards, do whatever you need to do. A perfect score on these definitions is the foundation you need to pass. And that brings us to the end. We've gone through the fundamentals, the practical skills, the big risks, and the high-level strategies. You now have a complete structured toolkit for everything you're going to face on exam day. Review these key ideas, focus on those high-risk topics, and you are going to be ready. Thanks for joining me, and I wish you the very best of luck on your exam.